Welcome back. You're watching WION World is One. I'm Shivan Chandna. This is Speed News. Let's start. Yemen's Houthis have claimed without evidence that they targeted U.S. aircraft carrier USS Harry Truman and its warships with ballistic missiles and drones in response to the American airstrikes. In a televised address, the group's military spokesperson Yahya Sarya warned that it would continue attacks on Israeli ships in the Red Sea if Israel continues to block aid into Gaza. In a televised address, Houthi leader Abdul Malik al-Houthi warned that the group would continue to target American warships, aircraft carriers and naval assets in the Red Sea. Meanwhile, U.S. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz has said that the American airstrikes targeted multiple Houthi leaders and took them out. In an interview to ABC, Waltz said that the current strikes were different than those carried out under the Biden administration. According to a statement released by Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's office, an Israeli negotiating team is currently in Egypt, engaging in talks with Egyptian mediators over the hostages issue. It also confirmed that the discussions are underway under the direct instruction of the Prime Minister. And this comes just a day after Israel announced its continued indirect ceasefire negotiations with Hamas. Meanwhile, Israeli airstrikes in Gaza have claimed at least 14 Palestinian lives in the past 24 hours. According to Gaza's health ministry, the Palestinian officials report numerous deaths despite a January 19th ceasefire. The Israeli military, however, maintains its actions are in response to threats from militants approaching its forces or planting bombs. On Saturday, 9 Palestinians, including 4 journalists, were killed in an Israeli strike on Beit Lahiya, northern Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has announced that he will seek to dismiss Ronen Bar, who is the head of Israel's internal security service Shin Bet. In a statement, Netanyahu said that ongoing distrust made it impossible for him to continue working with Bar. The Shin Bet had recently issued a report accepting full responsibility for its failures around the October 7th attack and had also criticized Netanyahu, saying government policies are among its causes. Pakistan's Parliamentary Committee on National Security to meet on the security situation amid a surge in terror incidents, particularly in Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa provinces. 11 were killed in the attack on a Pakistan military convoy in Noshki district on Sunday. The deaths include 9 Pakistani security personnel and 2 civilians. The Baloch Liberation Army claimed responsibility for carrying out the attack, targeting a convoy of the Pakistan Army. And New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher Luxon will be meeting Prime Minister Modi in New Delhi today. Luxon, who is on his first official visit to India, will also inaugurate the 10th edition of the multilateral conference of the Raisina Dialogue. The New Zealand Prime Minister met India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar soon after arriving in Delhi on Sunday. The duo discussed a shared goal of a stable, secure and prosperous Indo-Pacific. Later, Prime Minister Luxon will visit the Gandhi Memorial at the Rajghat, followed by meetings with Indian Prime Minister and Indian President. The two countries are also expected to exchange several memoranda of understanding after their bilateral meeting. According to a recent survey, Approval ratings of Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba have dropped sharply as the leader faces backlash for distributing expensive gift vouchers to rookie ruling party lawmakers. Just 26% of voters polled by the Asahi Shimbun Daily expressed support for Ishiba's cabinet, which is a dramatic fall from 40% in February. Both were the lowest since Ishiba took office in October. A separate survey by the Yomiuri Shimbun Daily put support for the administration at 31%, down from 39%. Ishiba, who is 68 years of age, has come under fire for handing out gift vouchers, each worth $670 to 15 new LDP lawmakers. A move he has defended as legally sound and not a political donation. The Liberal Democratic Party, which has governed Japan almost continuously since 1955, has been convulsed by a series of corruption scandals in recent years. More than 200 alleged Venezuelan gang members have been deported from US to El Salvador, despite a US judge blocking their removals. In a post on social media, El Salvadoran president said that 238 members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua had arrived in the Central American country, along with 23 members of the international MS-13 gang. Neither the US government nor El Salvador has identified the detainees nor proved details of their alleged criminality or gang membership. A federal judge's order has prevented the Trump administration from invoking a centuries-old wartime law to justify the deportations, but by then the flights had already departed. Video released by the El Salvadoran government shows the deportees shackled at their hands and ankles, struggling to walk as officers pushed their heads down to have them bend at the waist. Colombian defense minister has warned Donald Trump administration against blacklisting his country for failing to curb drug exports. The defense minister has said that the move will bring yet more cocaine to the US. In an interview to AFP, the newly appointed defense minister, Pedro Sanchez, has said that in case of decertification, the government will lose the ability to contain the threat. Colombia has launched a diplomatic offensive to avoid blacklisting ahead of a September US review. Since President Gustavo Petro came to power in 2022, the area under cultivation has increased by about 70%, according to the Colombian government and UN estimates. Trump has taken a hardline stance against drugs entering the US from Mexico and Canada, hitting both countries with tariffs as apparent punishment. Just days after taking oath as Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney embarked on his first foreign trip. The Canadian Prime Minister was seen leaving for Paris to meet President Macron. The two leaders are hoping to reinforce their ties and are expected to discuss a variety of issues, both economic and commercial. They are expected to discuss issues related to security in Europe and Canada. The Canadian PM is also expected to visit the United Kingdom. On Friday, Carney appointed a 24-member new cabinet that includes the main players who held portfolios central to managing Canada-US relationships. The 60-year-old said his cabinet will focus on two priorities: protecting Canadian workers and their families in the face of unjustified foreign trade actions and growing the Canadian economy. US President Trump has confirmed he will be speaking over the phone to his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin on Tuesday. The US had proposed the halt in fighting after talks in Saudi Arabia. While Ukraine has agreed, Russia has given no clear answer as yet. Instead, Putin has listed conditions and raised serious questions. Russia will seek guarantees that NATO will never include Ukraine in the alliance and that Ukraine remains neutral in any peace deal. This is according to a Russian deputy foreign minister. Speaking to a Russian media outlet, Alexander Grushko said Moscow will demand that ironclad security guarantees become part of the agreement, adding that part of these guarantees should be the neutral status of Ukraine and the refusal of NATO countries to accept it into the alliance. The devastating fire that killed 59 people in a North Macedonia nightclub could be related to corruption, and this is according to Macedonia's Prime Minister as the country declared 7 days of national mourning. North Macedonia's Prime Minister Mikoski said that an investigation found that club's license was not legitimate. He added that the document issued by the officials from Economy Ministry was illegal. Mikoski went on to say that there were many questions to be answered and promised accountability at all levels. At least 155 people were injured in the deadly fire. The authorities have suggested that the death toll could rise much further as 20 of the injured remain in critical condition. Several injured people were also brought to Bulgaria for treatment. Severe heat wave is gripping parts of India already, with temperatures soaring above normal levels in multiple states. Jharkhand, Karnataka, West Bengal, Odisha and Maharashtra are enduring intense heat, with many regions surpassing 40 degrees Celsius already. The India Meteorological Department, IMD, has issued warnings and advisories to ensure public safety. In Jharkhand, a yellow alert has been issued for several areas like Seraikela, Kharswan and Bokaro. In Karnataka, Ainapur Hubli recorded a blistering 42.8 degrees Celsius with further temperature rises expected. West Bengal's western districts including Paschim Mednapur and Jhargram are sweltering, and Odisha's Jharsuguda reached 41.8 degrees Celsius. Maharashtra's Vidarbha region remains dangerously hot, with Chandrapur reaching 41.4 degrees. Authorities urge the public to stay hydrated, avoid the sun and take breaks in cool spaces. Vulnerable groups should stay indoors for the latest updates. Stay tuned to weather advisories. Severe weather has wreaked havoc across a vast region of the US, claiming at least 37 lives. The destructive tornadoes, which began on Friday, have impacted millions of people from Texas to North Carolina. At least 12 fatalities were reported in Missouri, where the tornadoes hit the hardest. Governor Mike Keogh described the widespread destruction, noting that hundreds of homes, schools and businesses were either obliterated or heavily damaged. The official in Butler County recounted a tragic scene where a tornado left a home unrecognizable. The dust storms triggered by fierce winds in Texas and Kansas led to deadly highway accidents. In Texas, a collision involving approximately 38 vehicles resulted in 4 deaths, while in Kansas, a massive crash of over 55 cars claimed 8 lives. China's retail sales growth quickened in January and February in a welcome sign for policymakers' efforts to boost domestic consumption, even as joblessness rose and factory output eased. underscoring the strains on an economy facing fresh US tariff pressure. Policymakers have put expanding domestic demand as the top priority this year as they try to cushion the impact of the Trump administration's tariffs. The data followed weaker than expected exports and inflation indicators earlier this month, highlighting the need for more policy support. Gold firmed in early deals today after touching a historic milestone last week as geopolitical tensions rise and as they rise, jitters about tariffs, escalating trade frictions and increased hopes of interest rate cuts from the US Federal Reserve continue to fuel safe haven demand. Geopolitical tensions have also been persistent, with US vowing to keep attacking Yemen's Houthis until they end attacks on shipping and Israeli military strikes, killing at least 15 Palestinians in the Gaza Strip over the past 24 hours. Gold, which is a hedge against political risks and inflation, has gained around 14% so far in 2025. The US dollar hovered close to a 5-month low against its major peeps as it was pressured by Donald Trump's trade policies and a run of soft macroeconomic data. The euro stood not far from the 5-month peak after German parties on Friday agreed on a fiscal deal that would boost defense spending and revive growth in Europe's largest economy. The Japanese yen stuck close to a 5-month top, buoyed by hawkish signals from the Bank of Japan, although the central bank is widely expected to retain the status quo in policy decision on Wednesday. The US Federal Reserve is also expected to leave policy unchanged on Wednesday. Chinese yuan edged back towards the strongest level in 4 months in offshore trading. China's property slump persisted in February, with official figures showing declines in prices, investments and sales as government measures and promises of more stimulus did little to boost demand in the crisis-stricken sector. The government has prioritized property market stabilization in its 2025 agenda, urging city-specific measures to ease home buying restrictions and stimulate demand. Newcastle United have got their hands on a domestic title for the first time in 70 years. Eddie Howe's men will go down folklore of the club after beating Liverpool 2-1 at Wembley. Dan Burn opened the scoring for Newcastle on the half-hour mark with a bullet header. Alexander Isak doubled the advantage 3 minutes later into the second half. Liverpool pulled a goal back in the 4th minute of stoppage time through Federico, but Newcastle managed to hold on for the victory. The who's who of Asian cinema walked the red carpet at the 18th Asian Film Awards in Hong Kong. The prestigious event honored the best of Asian films, with 30 movies from 25 countries competing in 10 categories. That's 16 categories. Shahana Goswami and Payal Kapadia took home top honors. Goswami won the Best Actress for her powerful performance in Santosh, and Kapadia was honored for her film All We Imagine as Light. Acclaimed Chinese actress Tong Wei received the Excellence in Asian Cinema Award for her outstanding contribution.